She was ignored by everyone until a four-star general walked in and saluted her. In a small town on the edge of nowhere, there was a woman named Margaret Cole, quiet, plain, and often overlooked. Every morning, she'd sit alone at the same corner table of Benson's cafe, sipping black coffee, her eyes lost somewhere far beyond the walls of that little diner. To most people, Margaret was just the old lady with a limp who never smiled much. The teenagers laughed at her worn-out jacket. The locals whispered about how she'd lost her family years ago, and even the waitress sometimes forgot to refill her cup. No one asked her story. No one cared to know it. But one day, everything changed. It was a rainy Thursday morning when a black SUV pulled up outside the cafe. The door opened, and out stepped a man in full military uniform, tall, decorated, and unmistakably important. The moment he entered, the diner fell silent. His uniform carried 4 stars on the shoulder, a general. The waitress stuttered, What can I get you, sir?" But the man didn't respond. His eyes scanned the room, searching, and then they landed on Margaret. The old woman looked up slowly, confused by the sudden attention. The general's expression changed, from stern authority to something softer. Without a word, he walked straight across the diner, the heavy sound of his boots echoing in the silence. Then, to everyone's shock, the 4-star general stopped right in front of her table, stood at attention, and saluted her. The entire diner froze. Forks stopped midair. Coffee cups trembled. The waitress gasped. Margaret blinked, her eyes suddenly glistening with tears. "You don't have to do that, son," she said softly. The general's voice cracked slightly. "Ma'am, after everything you did, it's the least I can do." Whispers filled the room. Everyone stared. No one understood. The general gently placed a small box on the table. Inside was a Silver Star medal, one of the nation's highest honors for valor. He looked around the room and said, "This woman is Colonel Margaret Cole, the first female combat strategist in our division. She saved more soldiers than any of you will ever know." Gasps spread through the cafe. He continued, "In 2003, during Operation Red Dune, our unit was ambushed in the desert. We were outnumbered 5-1. Command had given up on us, but she didn't. She defied orders, rerouted air support, and pulled us out of hell. 42 of us walked out alive because of her." He turned back to her, eyes full of respect. "I was one of them." Margaret's trembling hands covered her face. The memories she'd buried for years came flooding back. The screaming radios, the sandstorms, the endless nights of loss and courage. She never wanted recognition. She'd come home quietly, fading into civilian life. The general her medals packed away in a shoebox under her bed. "Ma'am, we've been trying to find you. The department wants to present you with full honors at the Capitol next week." Tears rolled down her wrinkled cheeks. She shook her head gently. "I didn't do it for honors, son. I just wanted you boys to make it home." The diner was silent again, but this time, not from ignorance. It was from awe. The same people who used to ignore her now stood as if in the presence of something greater than celebrity and true heroism. The waitress, still stunned, refilled her coffee and whispered, "I'm so sorry, ma'am. We never knew." Margaret smiled faintly. "That's all right, dear. Most heroes go unseen." The general straightened, saluted once more, and before leaving, turned to the room and said, "From this day forward, don't ever ignore someone because they seem ordinary. Some of the greatest warriors this country's ever known look just like her." He walked out and the door swung shut behind him, but the silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable anymore. It was reverence. When Margaret left the cafe that morning, everyone stood. For the first time in years, people saw her, really saw her. And as she stepped out into the morning light, the rain had stopped. Sometimes the quietest people carry the loudest stories. Never assume someone's worth by how visible they are. Because true heroes don't wear capes. They walk among us, quietly, humbly, waiting for the day the world remembers who they really are.